Let's begin with the Heart Sutra in English on page 2. Thus I have heard. At one time, the Blessed One was dwelling in the royal domain of Vulture Peak Mountain with a great gathering of monks and a great assembly of bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One was absorbed in the samadhi of the many aspects of phenomena called profound appearance. At the same time, noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva, looking at the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom, saw the 5 skandhas and their natural emptiness. Then, through the power of the Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to the noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva, how should a son of the lineage trained who wishes to follow the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom? Thus he spoke, and the noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva answered the Venerable Shariputra with these words. Shariputra, those men and women of the lineage who wish to follow the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom should look at it like this. The 5 skandhas should be seen purely in their natural emptiness. Form is emptiness. Emptiness is form. Emptiness is not other than form. Form also is not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, recognition, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, like this, all phenomena are emptiness, and having no characteristics, they are unborn and unceasing. They are not impure or pure. They neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no recognition, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no appearance, no sound, no smell, no taste, no sensation, no phenomena. There's no quality of sight and so on, and no quality of mind and no quality of mental consciousness. There is no ignorance and no exhaustion of ignorance and so on, up to no old age and death, and no exhaustion of old age and death. In the same way, there is no suffering, no origin, no ending, and no path. No wisdom, no attainment, and no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, since there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and abide by means of the profound perfection of wisdom. And since their minds have no obscurations, they have no fear. Transcending falsity, they attain nirvana. All the Buddhas who dwell in the 3 times have relied upon the perfection of wisdom, and have become true and complete Buddhas of unsurpassable, perfect, and complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of the profound perfection of wisdom, the mantra of insight, the unsurpassed mantra, the unequaled mantra, the mantra which calms all suffering should be known as truth, for it is not deceptive. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is proclaimed. Teata om gate gate para samgate bodhisattva. Shariputra, this is how a bodhisattva mahasattva should train in the profound perfection of wisdom. Then the Blessed One arose from that samadhi and said to the bodhisattva mahasattva noble Avalokiteshvara that he had spoken well. Well done, O son of the lineage, it is so. O son of the lineage, since it is just so, the profound perfection of wisdom should be practiced just as you have taught, and the Tathagatas will also rejoice. When the Blessed One has said this, the Venerable Shariputra, and noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva, and the entire gathering, as well as worldly beings, gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas, rejoice and praise the words of the Blessed One. Say then, continue with the short mandala offering on page 16. Saji Puji Doshi Metoram Rera Linje Nide Jambade Sanje Jindor Mende Bowai Loge Namda Jina Chebarai Jesun Lama Tamba Jina Je Chege Kala Chete Chete Shada Zambe Buje Zemana Saje Shuje Shabavano Sona Renam Radha Continue with the refuge prayer, page 22. Sanje Chana Doje Jana Jajo Bado Dane Jaje Nage Chuje Jive Sonaje Lala Bejira Sanje Grubara Sanje Jana Saje Jana La Jajo Bado Dane Jaje Nage Chuje Jive Sonaje Lala Bejira Sanje Grubara Sanje Jana Saje Jana La Jajo Bado Dane Jaje Nage Chuje Jive Sonaje Lala Bejira Sanje Grubara 다음으로 대리슈가 참 가지고 줘야 될 거를 써이나 달라르베 가시나 레로메나 또 지인이야 나가지 되더라 또 손을 말해 다데나니 레로메나 또 지인이야 또 지야 줘야 가시 쉬어서 그지 다 레로메나 써야돼 가시 니도 쉬어서 받아 되더라 자시에서 또 쉬어야 레로 면은 좀 지인이셔야 돼. 레로 써야 되는 거. 쇼는 소다제나 레로 되는 거 손으로 쓰고 그래. 다고 뭐지 제가 지금 다 나서 줄여요. 그래서 레로도. 이나 쇼는 뭐지 제가 레로들라. 나서가 대세 손으로 지체. 손으로 버리죠. 지루비 레로 세지 숨고요래. 아니 저한 내지 레로 세지 숨고요래. 아니 슈르비네 로즈네 달레로데마 자위 데네로 조송도리마 안디시 쇼도 인도 다줄루빌레로 세한테 마소로 요래 아니 저한테 얘기들한테 마소로 요래 마소서그레다 나타나기 저한테 요래 아니 슈르빌레로는 나타나기 저한테 요제 자다 줄루빌레로 세한테 간데 줄루빌레로 세 소모를 쉬어이나 다만은서 자주지세 공기난다 공간이 공기난다 내중 로제 상담이난다 마다바 로제 상담이난다 양은 소소지 카드로는 자세 제고난다 연차로지 배우는다 차리에 세우는다 다들에게 가다 고소하게 나를 기획이 자와 지 상대 요가 관계나 그래서 상마도 제대로네 주지지를 제거하서는 아니야 주지를 제거하서 다소니 제거하서 안 되려 지마 제거하서 대라드는 지는 다다를 두마도 지는 지 제거 상가상가라 되다다다다 제마도 지는 근데 바바 자니 라디아 주로 들이야 지루비네로 다 만들어 나가를 기회지 저하지 상관을 되다다다 제마도 지는 도스바 치주제야 되야 되려들야 레로서 되려들야 지루비네로스네 손소만하기는 되려지는 지루비네로스라고 하네
So we discussed on verse 23 during our last session. What is enhancement of body?
Speak up a little bit.
The enhancement of
Could you?
okay. So we talked about we discussed on 23rd, the verse 23rd during last session, and that is the verse that we the verse that we have discussed was on 23. What is the enhancement of the body, the enhancement of the enhancement of power and intelligence. So we talked about that. The second line has there's missing one important point, which is not translated in here. It is uh, without laziness and the power and diligence. So which is not in here. So the position enhanced through generosity, with nature's emptiness and compassions. So we have discussed briefly on the power, enhancement of power. We talked about 10 different kinds of powers during our last discussions. And so now today, let's talk about this laziness. It says knowledge without laziness. So when you talk about without laziness, so primarily there are of three kinds of laziness or indolence, which is the first one is procrastination, and the second one is indulging in meaningless activities, and the third one is making excuse and not doing it. So those are the three kind of laziness that we all have. We all possess these three kinds of laziness, particularly of the first one, which is the procrastination. We have a habit of procrastinating that uh, mm, although one may wants to engage in the practice of bodhicitta, wisdom led, and meditating on emptiness, impermanence, or one would like to recite mantras or chantings, or one would like to make an offerings of the water bowl offerings or prostrations. So whatever the virtuous actions to one's body, speech, and mind is procrastinated. You know, I may be able to, um, I will do it maybe later, maybe tomorrow, maybe after a couple of days, and so forth. And this is the first kind of laziness, which is predominantly, possessing in all of us. So, yes.
단지바디 자왕 매직을 세죠. 자왕 매직을 세네. 아, 다나 그 기회지 저 루야가 되게 대신 다지가 봤다니. 그래서 조금 변세래야. 지 계좌도로 모르시하는 거다. 아니 저 나기 리가 있는 처리가 있는 리가 자세 되게 다는 거다. 아니 다들 하잖아. 라타 카바트 나나야 때마다 제산준다든다 그 된다와 제대야 간다른 나가 계획이 저루야 되서때 아니 계획이 저 마이미 되서야 아니 계획이 저 마루가 되러 왔대야 아니 저 안에 얘기를 해놨어 소소 나가 계획이 저루야 되서는도 아니 저 안에 뭐 되려 되서 봤다니 남대야 되려 되네 여러들이야 아니 저 안에 얘기를 해놨어.
So the second kind of laziness that we talked about, indulging in these actions that are meaningless or purposeless, no purpose in it. This includes our negative actions. So instead of engaging in the virtuous actions or the meritorious actions, one engages with actions that becomes non-meritorious and or the negative actions which enables one to accumulate negative karma. And all this, whatever the negative actions that we are engaging, that engagement of negative actions belongs to the second category of this laziness.
다 소바데 shum벨레로 세아데레 shum벨레로 세아데다 아무도 세주 차데레 당내 디담이 용구 말이 세아데 베로베나 아 제체는 시원하다 장초 세세도 제토야 지들면도 세아 다 상황도 말이 세아도 동반이 제아도 좀 또도 말도 요사 말이 세아 아니 중간에 시원에 배 차이가 제토도 말이 세아 아니 이제 예안에 배 예배 그룹으로 해서 제토도 말이 세아 다가다 나가 기회가 지 지금 가르쳐 줘야 되는 되게 용거 말했으니 당번에 소소소 게 네트워크 말은 주고 말네 소소소를 말해 주지 않으면 슈디아 줘라 되게 데려려야 돼야 아니 슈벨레로 와서
So the third one is it's mainly, oneself is becoming disheartened. And one is not having adequate sort of motivations or strong motivations of engaging in the practice. One simply just giving up and making an excuse of saying that I cannot engage in this practice. This is not the kind of practice that I can do. And this is not the kind of practice such as I can do, such as prostrations, working for the welfare of other sentient beings, bodhicitta, and so forth. Not actually trying to engage in this practice, not having this simply tells us that we are actually lacking the genuine motivations of engaging in the practice. As long as the genuine motivation is absence in our state of being, and the third kind of laziness will emerge.
다들 레벨 넘어 소가 니볼로 가르거나 뭐래야 줄베레로 또지 소소리 요구도나 안들이 니볼로 가르고나 마다바상 당그랬어 저도 마다바상 당도가나 소소 처음 마다상 그때다 마다바상 마다바 땅상 배우는 거래 아니 처음 마다바상 저도 내가 쳐서 나신 님에서 봐 안치게 주마다 강이 뭐라서 같은 내가 되네 다 되다다다 지벽에 두세 강이 버티다래야 지기와 분나 마도 다 니버드 신이 시작을 다 가지고 하고 말해 아니 시작에 진 주마다 강이 잔다 배양게 말도 되네도 다다니네 나가 교회 저 누구 서서 그러지 네도 아니 처음 봐 소소는 진로 빌려로 슈치 뭐 요이나 안티 님을 받아야 처음 다 상담이 아니 되서야 고성비 자와 아무튼 루트가 배치해서
So the antidote towards the first, the laziness of procrastinations, is meditation on impermanence of one's own life, transient nature of one's life. If one is able to engage in this practice, meditate on the transient nature of one's life, then that really becomes a remedy for this, laziness of procrastination. Because not just only meditating on impermanence in general, but meditating on transient nature of one's life, in particular, by reflecting one's mind upon that death is certain, and occurrence of the death the time of the occurrence is uncertainty. It can be occurred at any time, maybe after a minute, after a day, week. So with this kind of reflection, understanding the certainty of death and uncertainty of the time of its occurrence will really help us to engage in the practice of Dharma. And knowing that at the time of one's death, there's no other things that other actions that can help us other than engaging in the practice of Dharma. So therefore, when you think about this, then will enables you automatically engage in the practice of Dharma and engage in the actions of one's body, speech, and mind, meritorious actions.
다 저항 얘기는 보이네. 뭐다 보고 뭐 아치가래 뭐다 봐서다. 저거를 저 드네이 미전에 뭐다 봐서 땅에 토네. 소소 저 토면 뭐다 봐들이야. 저항이 이제 드라리에 된다 왔지니. 다 단다 가든 드지 못도. 누워서 드라고 주세라 때네. 다도 다른 이분이 이제 저항이 지금 내려도 봐. 빠니. 아니 진짜로 강 중반에 아니 나가 교육 저하고 되더라야.当这个也上不到吧，这个没得吧，上当没多呢，这年把这种就是这的，这年把这个就是刚有把的，他叫上过去对呀，他错了吧，当然是接的。
So the next remedy to the second laziness, which is laziness of indulging in meaningless activities. And this, again, on the basis of reflection on the impermanent nature of one's life, one then think about from the beginningless time up until now, being engaged in these activities, the meaningless activities, the activities that has no purpose. As a result, I am trapped in this unenlightened existence. If I still continue to engage in this kind of activities, I will never reach my goal, the goal I always seek to achieve. I will never be able to achieve my goal. So now instead of that, from now on, I will do my best to engage in my actions of the body, speech, and mind, the virtuous actions of the body, speech, and mind, and tie whatever I can, whatever necessary, whatever I can to do, to force myself to engage in the practice of Dharma.
다 손바닥 쇼미를 해야 돼. 저는 쇼미를 해야 돼. 다 소소야. 가르쳐. 세주 봐야 돼. 기초 말해. 세주 봐서 대한 더 진짜면 세주 봐 많이 봐. 소소 민주국 말에 또 말에 산에 다다 봐다 당도 저도면 다다 봐다 되는 하더라고. 제가 다 세주 영향이 되는 집에도 좀 주는 데 최백이. 근데 대신 봐다 저 장주선 봐다. 내가 뭐 보다 폐 서마다 폐지 받는 데 상고 아니 진짜 치료 소소 지금 담을 때가 남다 이제 계속 그래 아니 나중에 모두 저로 가야 근데 그저 저를 다뤄서 만나 한다다 그래서 내가 돌아야 나는 나는 소리야 모두 무배야 되지 장주세 지금 보면 다 장주세 저기 되는 인데요래 또한이 또만이 되지 또 되는 또만이 모두 또 되는 어떤데 뭐보여지 네 민주 사마주를 제대로 내가 뭐보여서 뭐 그러서는 뭐 배다니 다 콘솔이 깔리잖니 Tondindaji Toju Bala, Sozo de Chimatua Cheta, you have made your music Matua. Cheta so send you my Chani, Tenajin Heart and Mato. Money Jenna with Chibaji, Yunji Resha, Tendagi Tapanta, Chivatama Namdar, she had a Becky Tendagi, Name Tony, so Shumbati, not Tana, and Tara, Shumbatini member, Najumo, Nolabi, Sanju Rubasho, Sanaji, Jessatam J, Sanji Sarani, Kozwachigi, and some Pesena, the Naju Kuya, and Sanju Kong, Chigi, Temu de Jola, Sanju San, Jetu Chigi, Toman Tabishira, Jetu Chigi, Anganju, Samidu Jetu Chigi, Sang, that's in Jenny. Assim, eu tinha não tô só lá da gente, na gente agora, tem gente sabe.
So the third antidote towards the third laziness is to reflect one's mind upon the qualities of the great beings, such as Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. All of those great beings who are now in the state of enlightenment. But in the beginning, they were all ordinary sentient beings like ourselves, who were under the control of negative thoughts and emotions, as we are, and who then make an effort to engage in the practice and developing their courage to engage in the practice instead of completely becoming disheartened, rather, improving or enhancing one's courage to engage in the practice. As a result, they have gained state of enlightenment or have this high level of spiritual realizations. And if they are able to do that, why can't we do that? It is not something that we can practice at all. The question is whether we are motivated to practice, whether we have a genuine motivation to engage in this practice and gain these high levels of realizations. And for that, it is very important to address this third level of laziness is to also to sometimes read the stories and the narratives of the great beings such as Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. So this will really, enables one to enhance one's courage to engage in the practice of Dhamma.
Ajana lelo nimbo chi tsunde songoro tsunde dene tsuru rangi chu lelo tama jomde chi songdo tsunde dana galaya chana tsunde tsamne lelo tama da jomres chana mo tsunde rangi le tsunde chi aga bese chawre tsunde chi se tama bia to was sambo gewa to me en chi de chi senju chi re chana tsunde se ade senju chi re senju de 아니 나가 기와를 표현 지내지 생겨. 근데 제가 기와를 표현 해봐라. 또 표현하고 주제도 제가 주제도 걸어. 저한테 말을 해야 돼 기침을 해서 제가 무서 쇼를 보여줘. 아니 쇼기 단단하고 아니 바게 포문도 가는 거 저때 간다스 되는 파고도 리비라니 가는 되는 파고도 롱 간다도 रिपोर्टिंग जेते लोग करना दो लोग देगी अन्य तेरा कोई रिपोर्ट करना दो 대문에 방에 세대지 되는 것도 신주지는 소속에 원인들의 소샤 내 주제들의 레셔로 르반들의 도 야나 레샤 때문에 바로 진짜는 때서서 거인이 가시는 것이래요. 아니 프로와들 내용은 때문에 메시지야. 영문은 더 생각하고 들어was 인생에만 기원을 프로와지에 가보는 지로와 내주 소소 레로 소소 줄을 레로도 그러니까 매번서는 안 소리 순주 야와주야 메시지야 되는 지사 제산은 저는 거 다지니 순주 요것들 장수요도 제가 무슨 아주 뉴리지 돌아 이거 보세요 저로 뉴리지에서 둘이 잡았어요 무슨 잡고 제가 내지 이번에는 돌아 이거를 주는 주도를 미치도 그 저한테 타임 그 돌아 이거 주도를 했어요 저로 대나시 준비하고 주요에는 안 되려 장주 유효의 되려면서 장주를 아니고 뭐 도도를 해서 레로제라는 장주 신도를 있나버를 모아서다 레로제 집에 있나 안 되려 장주대야 하자를 림보를 해서 그런가 림보를 해서 아니면 요말 쓰는 거 저는 나중에 소쇼나야 세제나 산지로 미쳐서야 계셔 주로 나지 산지론들에 대한 산지와는 교육을 보시지. 냥로로 레벨되게 아니 내가 줄을 담아도 지라다 제마도 하지. 나는 제마도 이제 하루로 된다 하지. 제가 레벨제라는 장주 신도를 이렇게 스타버는 모스. 양 레벨제라는 제만 매반이 싫어지 받으면도 서로다 레벨 주지 뭐요서는 제마다 말에 전제에서 뭐요서도 말에 ane chundriya wazan tuwa maari, ane tingi zikai, shiri, tasa ina yawu yungu maari, yasta lilo tsangi juante yuru sangpa, lilo chila ne, jimba meba ni, shiri pata mento oda sangpa, lilo jin tasari ya ne, kanda pashe tuwa na lede, ane yawu yungu maari, tena jiga lilo chila ne, yenji tuwa mento oda, ta lilo shuchimuri jiwa ina, randu dhuwa yuru, shendaga tuwa ane yawu yungu maari, 다 가기들은 요와 내가 저러지어서 야사제 아니 배려로지니 아니 쇼기저는 다리에 지하라면서 손에 지하라면서 그리고도 하잖아 내가 내가 이행돼 제대로 말해 하면서 나비기다 쇼기 뭐 다들 간에 제대로 해야 되와 제가 내려이나 아니 제대로 말해서 뭐 아니 무슨 뭐 다들 돼 지하는 거지 쇼치고 이런 거 근데 내려가 님은다
So now the practice of perseverance or the diligence is the antidote towards all those three laziness. And diligence is said to be, diligence becomes a direct antidote or direct remedy towards those three laziness. So therefore, engaging in the practice of diligence is something that is very, very important. So when it comes to the diligence or the perseverance, we're not just talking about a general perseverance or the diligence, because normally we all put in effort. We all do something that is diligently in our day-to-day, the mundane practices or the mundane activities. And everything that actually requires diligence and perseverance, without which will not be able to, to accomplish what we're seeking to, what one is seeking to accomplish. So here, in this context, when we talk about diligence, we're not talking about this kind of diligence. We're talking about the diligence of joyfully or delightfully engaging in the practice of Dharma. That is what is meant by diligence in this particular context. So in order to have such diligence with joyful and diligence of joyful and uh, you know, delightful in engaging in the practice of Dharma requires a resonance. In order to have a authentic resonance, one needs to engage in the practice of Dharma or study the Dharma and receive the teachings, reflections, uh, contemplations, and meditation. That's very, very important. Supported by reasonings, and reasoning is supported by the scriptural authorities. So this is how it is this through which one is able to practice and accomplish the diligence, which becomes becomes an antidote towards this laziness. It is therefore in the commentary what it says is that someone who has a practice of diligence will have enlightenment, and someone whose mind is completely preoccupied by laziness, or three kinds of laziness, in other words, and state of enlightenment is very far away. It doesn't say you cannot achieve enlightenment, but it's just a very far away. You may be able to in the future, but a very long future, thousands and thousands of years. So therefore, it also says that if one is unable to engage in the practice of diligence or the perseverance, one will not be able to engage in the actual practice of generosity, morality, perseverance, patience, concentrations, and wisdom. In other words, without getting rid of this negative, this laziness, one will not be able to perfect one's practice of six perfections. And without engaging in practice of six perfections, let alone that one will be able to work for the welfare of other beings, one will not even be able to fulfill one's own purpose. So with this, we have completed, explaining or discussions on the first two lines of verse 23. Now let's begin to explore the last two lines of the verse 23. Here we read, the positions are enhanced through generosity, whose nature is emptiness and compassion.
땡보래다 또도 또반이래 지금 얘네다 말로서 봐야 가르나 동반이야 하고 그래 또 싫어야 돼 하고 그래 말로서 보면 돼 가나 동반이 또 싫어야 돼 무슨 그렇게 하고 그래 근데 왜 동반이 싫어를 가지고 지어라 아니 요 동반이 되는 가는 이때 무슨 뭐 주고 그러와 자 대인도 요 동반이다 아니 대답이 이제 싫어 쳐봤지 아니 동반이 싫어 대란 줄 하고 그래 대단도 맞으면 아니 대도 터이차 내가도 지라봐 터이차 아니 이제 다들 이제 대야 이제 지금 와서 하는 거 재밌는 이제 쇼에 나주 소다지나 이제 지금마다 재밌는 이제 로지 되는 지마도 매래 이래다고 이제 재밌는 이제 나올 많이 내요 그 저는 뭐 제출하지 가다 이제 근데 이제 나도 이제 지금 거 그래 근데 주주 게임들가 되는지 좀 보여주되다 장주스비 줘갖고 이제 뭐 그거 처벌 받아서 말해서 이제 이제 처벌 해야 돼. 뭐 봐서 이제 단절한 분이 나가들은 이제 와서야 돼. 어디나 이제 저선 이제 해야 돼요. 로레 생주지래 또는 또 싫을 때야 생주지래 저는 저래 다른 줄이야 다들 요말 랑줄이 요말인데 랑줄이 지하 유행지래 저서 다들 지하 유행지래 내용도 좀 군이 뒤에서 참 그래요 제일 많이 제시하는 것 같아 어서서 그래지는 몇째 지와이나 뒤라던 다운로드나 제스 지난 무슨 데이터도 봐요서 가다 요다 소소게 정말 내다 천지제 소소소나다 배전이를 준비되는 거 보지를 안 해요 참 근데 제가 소소줄이야 하는 원인들이 싫어다 하는 이제 자주 생각해서 대단하게 제가 제고 그래서 하고 또는 이제 뭐지를 되는지
So here, first, in the Tibetan text, the original text, the root words, the whose nature is emptiness and compassion is first, and this will then be followed by the positions, and positions are enhanced through generosity. But in English translation, it is other way around. So now let's. So according to Tibetan text, first let's engage in the discussions on the last line of verse 23, which is whose nature's emptiness and compassion. So, so here we're talking about emptiness, right? Emptiness is something that is important to understand. And having understood what is meant by emptiness, then one should put an effort to generate a mental factor, in other words, it says, to understand that particular emptiness. So, in order to gain such mental factor or wisdom, one must first one should be introduced this emptiness, unmistaken introduction of emptiness must be done by the teacher or the master who has a qualification of explaining this unmistaken or giving unmistaken introduction of emptiness. It is through receiving unmistaken introduction of emptiness, one will be able to identify the object, which is emptiness itself. And then having identified this emptiness, unmistaken emptiness, one then put an effort to generate subjective mind or the wisdom that understands emptiness. How do we, if this is emptiness, then how do we cultivate a wisdom which realizes this emptiness? It should be understood. Because normally what happens with us is we're not focusing more on the generation of wisdom which realizes emptiness, but we're simply focusing on the objective phenomena, which is the emptiness itself. So now, for us, what we should do is not only just identifying the objective phenomena, which is emptiness itself, but rather subjective mind that understand emptiness. How do we, by what means, we cultivate this wisdom that which understands emptiness? In other words, it's important to have a perfect introductions in order to receive a perfect introduction of both subjective mind and objective phenomena, which is emptiness, and wisdom which realizes emptiness. It's very, very important. On that basis, then one should understand how do we practice compassion, bodhicitta, and so forth. Because compassion is said to be the method. So it's also required for the individual who's actually considered him or herself as a practitioner of Mahayana. Of course, when it comes to compassion, there are different kinds of compassion: great compassion, immeasurable compassion, and so on. But in this particular context, we're talking about the great compassion. We're talking about practice of Mahayana, right? By focusing all sentient beings and having an aspect of freeing all sentient beings from the suffering. This must be, practiced by the individual who consider him or herself as the practitioner of the Mahayana. So, so then, so here, it is for this understanding emptiness and practice of compassion. It requires a great efforts, great perseverance. But we cannot just wait until it arises in us. This will not happen. Without putting an effort and practice, it is not possible for one to achieve those qualities of wisdom, realization, emptiness, and the compassion, great compassion. For that, we need to put an effort to engage in the practice which enables us to accumulate merits, the sufficient merits which become a supporter of generating wisdom and compassion.
That's the only way they can be able to pay on yours. So then I do Jibber on you to the as you are. So Jibaton on you, such as that on you pay. So there on you, Jamia and that on you pay a shadow, and the Jibatan is Jibatana, and on you pay is that. Longing the Jimmy on you, so the Jibaton on you, as you are. Jada Jibat, Jibaton, and Jibas at the Jibas at the Lodge, Don Semajre, on Centuria, and then Jibas Lore. Tango Zumozoba, Tayagi, Karatan, so the 제약의 지체 진지스라고 그래. 지금 문제지 또한 세바들. 그래서 지금 다야 대하고 땅 땅도 요래요. 제가 지금 다 저기 친구 소리는 마바이에서 얘네가 지금 땅도 상도 충산된 땅을 기준 거래. 당보 지소설에 요 동세 요 어떤 말씀을 담으리나 당보 소설에 그것이라 명예게 누가 써대는 바 시행 당에 있잖아. 당보리 당보설에 진비 동세들이야. 레베야 관이 콘도 야 예진부에 그 라렌지 땅을 주러 와. 동보니 친구다 공부 당세야 돼. 요나버라 근데 제가 때보게 말해. 동보 친구이 당하지 쉬울 때는 주바지게 슈만들 땅 미인상에 당자샤이니 거 그래. 당보 중중 배바지는 카드 고바트지는 봐. 봐야. 근데 소소를 근거 매겨서 봐. 근데 버린 소 근거 매겨도 나가도 이거도 봐. 제가 소소를 근거 매겨다 니버를 근데 봐. 당연하겠지. 근데 매야지 다. 근데 봐. 제가 제한테 나타야. 소화는 동세들 매나 소소기 여봐. 지금 로주는 가서 뛰어야 돼. 근데 집에 차고요 말해. 집에 차고요 말해. 집에 세야 돼. 소 동생 집다. 동생 집이 집에 토니. 근데 이해를 되고 그래. 안도 무슨 말이야 있나? 동생 빼와서 그래서 무슨 소소를 제가 매워이네. 지금 이제 지금 시간을 때부터 이제 물어들이나 시험 대학에 자라가면 요만 소소를 그야다 사야지 지금 못 들어마도 요만 시험 대학에 뭐밖에 요만데 그래서 두줄이야 동생 근데 지금 나네다 초대 줘야 되는데 지금 저기 나다른 지역이나 근데 집에서 또 동생이 봐 총수만 나시 뭐인지 되네 완전히 제가 다 되는지 요이나 동생 되는지 요이나 한 소소로 준주는 거래서 와 제가 동생 빼러가서 다 보면서 야 무슨 내 담보 소리야 소소리야 왕대하기 요제도 되는 돼야 돼 가고요래 얘네 당무도 제모가 이제 소소 생각을 시행을 제비 매가지도 양양하니 소소를 요대하게 집에 잘하는 것도 되는 게 그때고요 tos kaji nale jibe kare laba yin yuban yibal paate ya yiban yubal paate tane che so do ja de kare ta laba yibal nale den so jara yin kuje yuban me yin da laba yin kuje ta so jara me yin da ma yin kuje tane ji de me ba ya ji ba den ana no de de be ya ji chen de na de ge de che ka da ja de ge jimbi se jara do ja da jimba tang yi zene teni ane rongchun chungu reso rongchun chungu ane chajin ruzo jimba tang teni ane rongchun kwani kondo pegu kuya na soso rongchun kwani kondo pegu kuya na ane teni chu jimba tang labu reso tote.
So the next line where we read, the positions are enhanced through generosity. This is the third one, which in Latin, this is the fourth line. The last line of the verse 23, but in English it's the third line, okay? So I'll read this third line right now. Its positions are enhanced through generosity. So this talks about the practice of generosity. It is through practice of generosity one will be able to enhance one's resources and positions, and that's what it says. And so, so we have in the many texts that we will go with, where it states that as a result of practicing generosity, one will have resources and positions, As a result of practicing morality, one will experience happiness. So, what is here now? What we need to understand here is now what is meant by practice of generosity here. Just giving some one's belonging to others will not become an authentic practice of generosity. The belonging, the giving some one's belonging to others, whatever the objects or the substances that is being given to others, is not actually generosity, practice generosity. It is a substance of, you know, it is a substance of practice of generosity. It's not an actual practice of generosity. Actual practice of generosity is the mental state, the state of mind that has a free of attachment to whatever the belonging that you are giving to others. But you have a genuine motivation of giving that particular object to other individual. Just by giving the object or just by giving the one's belonging to others will not become a practice of generosity, because you may give it to others, but at the same time there will be a tinge of attachment. If the tinge of attachment is involved, then it will not become a practice of generosity at all. So therefore, it is the actual practice of generosity is a state of mind. So, here, when we practice generosity, it says we should begin from giving things that are not very useful for one in the beginning, which is good for us, right? It's something that is not very expensive. It's something that you think and I'm not going to use this, I'll give it to others, but you'll have no attachment to it. This is how we practice. In the beginning, for a beginner, the initial practitioners, this is how we practice. And giving away something that has not much value in it. And by doing this practice, not only that you're just giving, but when you're giving it, you should have a genuine motivations of giving away one's belonging to others. Genuinely. There's no attachment, no involvement of any attachment to it. So this is how we practice. And then try to increase this, slowly, and eventually the more you practice, and that the more you become a courageous to give away your belongings, something that is useful, and something that is valuable. In the Tibetan practice of generosity, it says right from the beginning, what should we do is giving away the needles and strings, are something that's still not very important, but it really is something that is very useful. Those are the cheapest ones, giving away needles and and the strings so that they can use for that, which is very cheap, so they can just get it anywhere. And so it says, doesn't matter if you do not have if you lack a motivation of giving away, a genuine motivation of giving away things to others, even though that you may engage in giving away some resources or the belongings, one's belongings to others, it will not become a practice of generosity. So this is how the practitioner actually practice. Sometimes it's also very important, it's also helpful to practice, even though that you will not find this, you are not actually giving your belonging to some individual, but rather your right hand, that you hold the right hand of your belonging, and imagining that you are giving to someone but you're actually giving to your left hand. And that this is yours, but this is how you practice. And thinking about the left hand is somebody else, which is quite easy. You can just giving to the left hand and then thinking about what you're giving. This is how we actually practice many different methods of practicing and perfecting one's practice of generosity. So then the most important part here is now not actually you're giving away your belongings, but mentally that you have such a genuine intention of giving things to others. For instance, the great Bodhisattvas Shantideva and the great Tibetan yogi, the master Milarepa, they did not have any positions, they did not have any belongings to give it to others. But their practice of generosity is supreme among all what it says. Why their practice becomes so supreme is because of the state of mind. The way they practice of generosity, the way they have intention of giving even their own body without any attachment. So this is how we practice. And so therefore, we need to meditate, engage in contemplations, and think of how do we give away one's things to others, one's belonging to others, without having any attachment to it. And this is so very important. So then it is also very helpful if one can read the biographies of those great beings, the backgrounds of those great beings, how they practice their generosity. Because they are the great yogi and saint, and they did not have anything to give away to others, but they did a perfect practice of generosity. And so therefore it's very helpful for us if we can read through that and follow those reading those biographies and their narratives.
다양한 지바 담배 거래야. 지바 중국이면 다음에 와야는데 내 친구지 뭐래 주야게 쳐도. 아니야. 어제는 동생한테 진짜로 놓치고 된다게 그러는 지바이나. 아니야. 지금에서 동해야 되는 의미도 매와이나요. 몽골이야. 준비해야 되는 거 저한테 돈이 있는 거지. 다 Jimba Tawina, Tele Jimba Tawin, Tony to be sheriff, the legend says in it, Jimba Tawina, Jimba Tayate, and then Tabujan Roya, the Tabujan Roya. Then I Niji Chimbota, Chanju said the legend says Baina, the legend draw the Jibaina, Tele Jimba Tawin. tamjijibi kobong to egu juru ya. Tendagi yanchiba yore. Jizang, tole tobe sheregi loyi tsemasi batang, nije chanchu segi tsemasi pe tendajiba yungu wari. Jizang mahu jiterwa, jizang tole tobe sheregi juru meke na, nije chanchu segi juru meke nge yang, jiba tenda chechung tangi mongbo yungu warwa. Teso de, dan nguyo so tole tobe sheregi tang, Taniji Jayus and Mother Bayutan, Tamiji Kong to have Jul Yajung, Noya Matachi, Musu, looking by your money. Don't we share with them as the Tamiju Rea Kaware, Janju Sedan, Jiniji Chibutanaki Semazna, Taju Kong to have Jul Rea Kaware. In that, Delia was a current Tegusna, Noa Jet, Noa Jet, and Don't have a share with the Mary and Mibache. Chanjus and Jimus and Mary and Mibache. She Mibache is also take a look at the she told him to toss on which Tomani told down to Jesus on which down. And then she told me you to Jimmy Benovich, and the legend says with the why I take the day. That's the Mibata. Money to Mama. Chazam, not a Jimba Diet, Roger Pera. chido rela zo jiba tangi pyuya de karna ane lami zo janju toya chido zo to zare tendu jiba ni tangwa ina soso yule ton tobi shira tan teni jita janju sen yuwa ina de tato tsesame che te mewa ina ya jiba tangi kato le kan jiba tang zaro yuwa tang jiba tangwa kola ne tang toya ki jinsi la so tato tsama pero muni chuwa to saya mea sang tōmani chī kōng. Wā tē sāna mā sī kati nē, tē kāng jīyā tē kē, anē mā chūn rūwa nā kā tsā yā tam jē, anē sā jī yu kōng tō kē chūn chū rō shū wā sāng, tē rā jī nē lē bē tsō chā nā ngō yā tāng, anē tē rē gē sā tē, tōng tō kē shē rā kē sē sā bā yu sō sāng, anē tē kōng rō rā sā mā tē rā kē, anē yu kōng mā rā yā sā kō rā bā, chā tē yu yā, yā bā tā yā tā nām tō rā yā, 대신 지금 또 시야를 단 그래서 뭐 이렇게 좀 말해.
So even though one have a little to give, the little gift to give away to others, to make that giving of gifts the perfect generosity of practice is to make this perfect practice of generosity by cultivating wisdom realizing emptiness. One's practice of generosity is conjoined with the practice of wisdom realizing emptiness. Then this will become a cause for liberation. And not only that, if one's practice of generosity, on the basis of this generosity is influenced by wisdom realizing emptiness, and also it is supported by the practice of great compassion and bodhicitta, then this will become a cause for complete state of enlightenment. Because without which one's practice of generosity will not become more become a cause for, let alone complete state of enlightenment. It will not even become a cause for liberations. Although that one may have not gained actual realization of emptiness, but one should at least reflect one's mind upon the meaning of emptiness when one is engaging in the practice of generosity. One should reflect one's mind upon compassion, great compassion, and bodhicitta. And one should then, by one's practice of generosity should then be influenced by this too, the practice of bodhicitta and wisdom, great compassion and wisdom realizing emptiness. And this will then suddenly become a cause for liberation and complete state of enlightenment. So here now, when we're talking about practice of generosity, the result that one may have that we talked about earlier is to enhance one's position and one's resources. But this is not the main point here, the main result that we may gain out of this practice of generosity. Our aim is to become a cause for liberation and complete state of enlightenment. That this should be the actual result. The one's result of practice in generosity must be liberation and state of enlightenment. So it is for this, when one is actually engaging in the practice of generosity, reflecting one's mind upon non-inherent existence of oneself and non-inherent existence of the gift that is being given to others, and non-inherent existence of the individual who is actually receiving receiving this gift. So, in other words, one is actually reflecting one's mind upon all of this gift that is given to others, oneself and receivers are all non-inherent existence. And this will then be supported by compassion, generation of compassion. Then this will become a really strong and powerful, cause for one's own liberation and complete state of enlightenment. And then, very important part here is that once you have done that, one should then dedicate this towards a state of enlightenment of oneself and that of all other sentient beings. Then once the cause of liberation and state of enlightenment that is accumulated by means of those practices will never be destroyed by negative thoughts and emotions. Because if one lacks the dedications at the end, even though one may have accumulated vast amount of merits and virtue by engaging those practice, then this will be destroyed in no time because the negative thoughts and emotions is bound to arise, is bound to emerge in our stream of being.
근데 대니들은 배우고 그래서 다스가 너무 얘기 드시다시 저다서 맞대 뭐야 당번이 되지는 데서
So now let's go to the verse 24. Making an earnest effort with respect to what has been done and so on, with firm diligence and firm intention. So now here it talks about whenever we engage in the practice, a diligence is needed as a prerequisite for all of these practices, such as concentrations, wisdom, realizing emptiness, and so forth. Without having this pure diligence or the genuine diligence or the perseverance, one will not be able to practice and perfect one's practice of concentration and wisdom, even patience and so forth. So the diligence is really needed. So it talks about that. So diligence can act as a preparation for for enhancement of the development of all other practices. If one is able to prepare our diligence very firmly, and then one's intention of engaging in the practice will become so firm, it will become firm, so this will never be destroyed. So then one will be, whatever practice one may undertake, one's practice will become so stable. Just as the soldiers, prior to their going the battlefield, they engage in all kind of practices and learning skilled in using the weapons and how to, when they're actually being in the battlefield, all the skills is needed. And once they have learned and once they've been very skilled in using all the weapons and the way of having battle with their enemy, then the armies or the soldiers will become so competent in having battle when they're actually facing their enemy in the battlefield. Without having a proper training, and they will not they will not be able to defeat their enemy. In the same manner, in order to engage it, in order to practice, follow all these practices, one need to first of all to perfect one's diligence and one's perseverance. And if one is able to do that, then all the practice that one may follow, one's practice will become very firm and stable, and this will not become one's practice will not become vulnerable for destructions or by our negative thoughts and emotions.
The clock is slow. The clock is slow. It's 20 after.
Okay. This is You have any questions?
Yeah.
Do
Go ahead.
This is tomorrow.
Did you have a question?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I was just wondering, it seems that the application of the methods can run straight through all the perfections. I mean, I'm just wondering if that's true. I mean, because you use each perfection to enhance each other perfection, it almost is an interdependent cause for mastering all the perfections. But this is the ground-based one, or the first one.
지원에 원수는 게 세시 그 님의 나베 거니 집에 버친 양대 집에 가고요. 전부 지금 서로서로 되게 세상 찍찍 좋아지고 그러면서 찍찍찍이야 대직 간다. 근데 집에 냠면 살지는 집에 냠면 무엇을 나는 당연히 지금 기념에 세배선을 선배님 차상대님도 보고 그러면서 님도 디니 강판님도 보고 그러면서 그래서 근데 대 컵들이야 된다. 그 조회설이야. 이 전주고 전주도 되게 시대의 시대에 가리나서 완전
당보때 준비나네 지금도 바지 옛날에 좋아지 받지 해야 돼. 니버라면 아니라 중간에 보고 할때 당보 자유비 그랬더니 요즘 가버려. 당보 좀 봐라. 준비해라. 다지니 렌지야 하는데 저거 근데 저희 분은 다 지금 나는 집에 그래 지금 가지고 준비해요. 근데 저번에요. 지금 다시 좀 renov야 다시 좀 상황 진행 거야. 전에 용거다야. 나는 야벌리고 전에 제도를 지고 옛날에 담보하죠. 나서 전에지 여명이 봐 가버려. 전체제. 근데 단단 소리해야 되잖아. 무슨 일이 내가 상관 때마냥 해야 돼. 계좌비에 가도록 계좌비에 가도록야. 진출이 사도 보내게 말해. 전에까지 나는 사도 보내게 말해. 얘는 계좌비에 가려야 뭐냐 내den지네. 소리를 질러야 상관 때문에 질 텐데 지금 또한이 계좌비에나 계좌비 한번 빼도 그래야 돼. 어떤 정보를 봐도 근데 그래야 사도 소리를 하고 말해.
So here now, one thing that we need to understand is in this point, in this particular verse that we're talking about, to make an earnest effort to enhance our goodness. In order to enhance our goodness, then we need this preparation, to practice the diligence. Cause that is needed. But yes, again, let's talk about this practice of generosity, morality, and all those practices are interdependent, and they're. But when individual is actually engaging in this practice, for the initial practitioners, they're not able to do that.
No.
For us, we just need to understand how do we practice generosity, what is the actual nature of practice generosity, and then once we have, fully, full understanding, the fullest understanding ascertainment of what is meant by practice of generosity, then one can shift one's practice to morality and so forth. But once one has become an advanced practitioner, then within the practice of generosity itself, includes all six perfections, practice of six perfections. So, you could add onto that the other perfections as well.
One other thing is, I was listening to a commentary and it said recently, it said that we should armor ourselves with the five wisdoms, and it was using that as a metaphor for protection, as he just finished his last sentence, and I thought that was good. And the other thing in the Yogacara system, I was reading recently that Paramartha, who took the teachings to China, that towards the end of his life, he decided to do himself in. He didn't want to live anymore because there was so much political, problems and just people that were against any kind of teachings whatsoever. And he almost gave up, and then finally he was called back from his disciples. Actually saved him by telling him how important his life has been, just to transmit the Dharma over to the mindsets of people who have no, they have no inkling, they have no clue, and so when you said that when you give your life, it could be under one of the last laziness. made me think about that, but it may just be an offering of the life too. It could, maybe it's not a laziness, it may be actually just a dedication. I'm finished now. I've done what I can do, and it's over now. So anyway, those are the reflections that I got from teaching style.
So this is just a reflection, not a question?
Yeah.
Okay.
then the develop the game that the sunshine the number that the chick more jia and the chick so ya me jebe kabia and the the Singapore and yet and Chinese and kind of 在进阶语节它的这些语的这个切磋路放在其他，可是没被开的这放在都是结果的，给中间的痛的放的，它多几万的了，毕竟这个那这结果嘛，就得路了，是跟那去开始不同的个些，然后怎么会去写的，在那里，巴拉马特了没得了。像就现在看到电脑样的朋友吧，可能也跟着训练你也去我肯定去过来，你没见了告诉你说去写了的讲就给三，特别写了给三不肯定写过的写了今天东东，就是第在的给他的嘛，从学那边考虑的，这个的等待这个呀。看到公布经理把这个刚上市的写下来。
Perhaps we should say the dedication.
More
Beginning on page 23 and 24, and we continue with auspicious wishes on page 28. Nagi jine sate
Yorande tena roa gona kambe chebara jesu rosa tabai tebe nibo rido saje sho
saji puki
saje beto na lera deje nide jivade sanje jibo mite kawai chobe nada jina chebara sho
Ewa kundu
Yadalama dame jike bela manje Sadama jike dena zonje Aje jange kobanyu kojo
Edangu
Shena mela lagame atayame
Chesuname
Kwasero tenje nagatene chochu jivana Rada tembe jume sasonje Prayena setato ne juroje
Kagri Rove
Kore Jemkazo Veda Deva Manu Jumene Chile Zama Tinse Jansoye Yabe Zete Pato Tenjuroji
Champel Power
Cheda Jivana Godo Sambo Deyante Jente Cheda Gunje Jesu Daroji Gyewa Deda Tamje Rodomo Teson Jibe Nyawa Tamje Moa Kala Choto Ngapade Dage give sawan de gunja, sambo jeje rato muwaraji.
Thank you, Bishop.